Welcome to today's Planetary Forecast. Well, tomorrow's. Happy Holy Day. We got like an hour left of the Venusian day. We love it here. Hopefully y'all enjoyed y'all Shava bar, Shani bar. Excuse me. Well, we're about to go into Shani bar. My bad. That's ruled by Lord Shani, which is Saturn deity. I'm messing up already. Um, so I'm in my mind trying to think about my order of operations. Let's talk about the astrological chart, which if you're on TikTok, you can see over in the corner. Hey, Hidden Prophet. If you're on YouTube, follow along. I was trying to figure out how, like, if I could do like screen something on here, but I don't think so. It's okay. I ain't mad. So let's talk about it. So for 969, which is Sabbath, Saturday, that's when, God rested. It's the energy of rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. It's a holy day for those who um, like to pay more attention to Saturn than anything. And like I said, Shani Bar is the day in the Hindu calendar. This is ruled by Lord Shani, which is Saturn, which brings on karma, justice, life lessons, retribution, hard work, and responsibility. When we look at our chart, we had quite a few different like shapes in the chart this past week. Like all last weekend, we had a star in the chart. It was making its way to a pentagram. Then we had a kite. We had a bunch of triangles. Last weekend was definitely like a big space and manifestation. And then we came into the month of nine on the day of one. It automatically like reset us back onto the day of one because 831 9 was 3. So we went from 3 back to 1. So that whole weekend was made for creation. Peace Adonis, that whole weekend was made for creation and expression, um, emotion too, and a sense of understanding, which is the Bina energy, which comes back into Saturn full circle. But that Bina energy that brings us into a sense of understanding is like the conclusion of the knowledge and the wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So all of that was like in preparation for like the 919. And if you guys noticed in the pattern of the mathematics, if you guys been following along, whatever we start the day off with is usually what the whole path of the day is. It brings us back to start. Like today was 969. Tomorrow's 969, right? Today was 959. So we started with Jabora. We started with that solar plexus chakra enforcing, our internal law into our space, right? And then, we utilized our Yasad to um, nurture our solar plexus chakra. You know what I'm saying? Well, Mars and Cancer energy doesn't really get along if you don't know how to alchemize the two energies. You know, so with the I like to make my own words up, but with the alchemization of those two energies, you come into 1 and 4, which is having knowledge of your internal law to begin with, right? Because 1 is knowledge, that's Ketters, that's awareness, that's the depth of being. We get into Asar and Aquarius energy, which deals with thought. We're pulling out the swords, right? And then we get into 4, which is Chesed, which is associated with Mayat. That's the foundation of the things, all right? So, which preludes us to the day before when we were in 949, that brought us on the path of 4. So if you notice the pattern, it's kind of like, oh, we're going back to the day before, but we're also still enforcing the next day, right? So you can infer that when we get to 969, we're going to have some knowledge of the 5 that we had to deal with today on the 5th. And it'll bring us to 6, our Tippereth, right? Um, but getting back into the chart of the things, um, actually, no, I don't. When you get back into the chart of the things, we do have another triangle in the space. Um, we have Saturn and Neptune kind of been the stars of the tops of everything, whether you're talking about our triangles, if you're talking about our pentagrams or our stars, all of that has had Saturn and Neptune in the space at the top. Saturn and Neptune and that Pisces energy, Pisces Aries energy is the star of the show and will continue to be the star of the show for the remainder of the month. I won't lie to you. Especially with Saturn have gone retrograde. I believe we now officially today we have Uranus in retrograde too, but I'll get into that later. I'm ahead of myself a little bit, but Saturn brings that being an energy, that sense of understanding, bringing things into the physical. Doing the limitations, the restrictions, the discipline and order to bring things to physical. What do we bring to the physical? Neptune. What does Neptune deal with? Neptune deals with generational mindsets, things hidden beneath the horizon, that sixth sense energy, your dreams, your subconscious, get into Akashic records here, generational dreams, generational goals, generational curses, generational habits, all those different kind of things that's been passed on is, we're building with that. We're being challenged by it too, because some of these things are things that we have grown to believe in, and Saturn challenged those. Are those still things that you believe in? Or do they still serve you? Can you put them in your discipline still, and feel comfortable having that sense of understanding with that energy? Thank you, Ivory. I'm well. I hope you're okay too. um all that fun stuff. It matters. Okay, so during this period of time with Saturn and Neptune being in Pisces, the star of the show, which is, the eclipse that we'll be having on Sunday, is in alignment with Virgo Pisces energy. So while the sun is in Virgo zodiac, Earth is in Pisces zodiac. All right, and then we have the North and South node here too. So the North and South node is actually here on the constellations, right? I'm looking at the Vedic chart right now. Yeah, yeah, this is the Vedic chart. But the constellations of but the zodiac. Yeah, I can't talk right now. The zodiacs are in Virgo, Pisces too. So we have that spiritual direction, getting in alignment with your spirit chart, all that fun stuff. Is all in alignment with the eclipse, as well as Saturn and Neptune, building on your dreams, finding a sense of structure, and like, okay, you've been dreaming this, you've been believing in this, we've been working on this, to spinning your thoughts. How can we formulate this into the physical? You know what I'm saying? Um, and also, like I said, challenges coming to that space. So focus is key here, and we love it here. So the bottom of the triangle, um, we have Pluto providing transformations, and actually Pluto is in its home house, the eighth house energy. Pluto is not too far off from Pallas, which is also over there in Capricorn. Now Pallas is our genius-like qualities that we overlook. This is like our inner Athena. Athena was a warrior. She didn't think she was a good warrior, and then she did some warrior shit. So, what are some things that you overlook in yourself, that you don't pay attention to? What are some gifts, some problem solving capabilities that you don't give yourself credit for? All those different things. Pluto provides transformations. Pluto doesn't just provide transformations. These transformations are empowering. Okay. Um, so when Pluto is giving those empowering transformations, it's providing like a rise and fall in things to open you up to that Palace energy, to make you realize, oh, I'm actually good at this, because while this was, undergoing, and Pluto is dramatic with the transformations, while this was going through these dramatic transformations, you know, this, that, and the third was happening. Um, Yes, I am. I have a pentagram on my arm with the Philosopher's Stone as my spirit symbol at the top with the water, air, fire. That sounds like a really dope tattoo. I like that. Metro J, I don't know who you are, but we are not twins. And I'm not your bro.
What did they say?
Don't worry about it. All living things have an electromagnetic energy. All living things. So might want to look into that. Look into the atomic theory and come back to me about that mindset. But yeah, so Pluto provides those dramatic transformations, empowering secrets coming out. It gets messy there, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's opening you up to what your genius like qualities are, what your problem solving skills are. This is heavy for your solar plexus chakra. You have to have some type of there we go. You have to have, some type of confidence, in your, your solar plexus and your ability to transform things into your space in order for, this triangle to work for real, for real. And also in this space and time, in the process of you building on your dreams and things, you can also, expect Pluto to provide those transformations in Palace, in a response as a result, simultaneously, all that fun stuff. Then on the other side, we have Uranus, which just went retrograde in the Taurus constellation. Quantum physics has already pushed us way past atoms. Exactly. But, sometimes I still have to have atomic conversations with people. You know how that goes. Um, when you get into Uranus and Taurus, you get the progressive pushes. Now, a lot of stuff that we trying to manifest and between that Saturn and Neptune, I know that a lot of us are underneath that capitalistic consumerism indoctrination, right? And amongst other things, the paperwork stuff, the bureaucracies, ownership things stuff, relationship titles, what they look like, what they supposed to have, and a lot of that is indoctrination. Okay, I ain't gonna hold you. A lot of that is indoctrination. Pisces helps you get to the root of your water self, you know. Um, and the water self deals with emotions and intuition. And even though, you might know certain things with that air energy, the waters will pull in a different direction. Like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but I feel like this instead. And we kind of cover up our feelings with the things that we quote unquote know, not realizing that, a lot of things that we know has been embedded in us on some, like, indoctrination, concentration school situation, changing your minds about things, taking away your creativity. We know how the public school system works. We know how this system works. We know how, it's like a cookie cutter machine, and it makes everybody in alignment with the same type of energy, right? You're a Cancer. Oh, nice. I got a Cancer on the other side too. Y'all some real ones. Um, but yeah, Uranus is providing those progressive pushes and that balance of your material self and your emotional self, and it's repeating degrees in that space of material and emotion, what you value, what you prioritize, how you obtain those things, and your moral and ethical code with that. So a lot of us don't realize that a lot of things that we overlook, um, coming back to Palace with that overlooking energy, but a lot of things that we obtain on our regular basis that we've deemed ourselves like, oh, this is a necessity. I have to have this thing, or I have to. And they're not real necessities, but you're starting to get down to the fact that actually there's some like ethical and moral issues with obtaining certain things, or being in a certain space, or having a certain behavior, or having certain, routines and stuff like that. With the Sun and Virgo right in opposition of this triangle right here, right? Um, and there's, you start to come into more like grips with that, with Uranus providing us those progressive pushes and tours, like the cell phone, for instance. uh there's we like cell phones. We like to have the ability to communicate with each other. This is awesome. However, let's look at the ethics of how we obtain these things. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at the ethics and the moral code on how they're valued and how we're prioritizing them. What is that really doing? Let Uranus repeat some degrees. The cell phone malfunction might be a thing. Lithium battery malfunctioning may be a thing. How we value the precious metals and stones, like it's still shiny rocks and shiny dirt. Like we still coming into this, like, I get it. In the same breath, everything has an electromagnetic field, but when we come into a capitalistic, sense about it, are we still moving in moral and ethics? Are we still in alignment with appreciation of nature when we do that? These are questions. Oh no, it wasn't them. It was a troll.
Uh,
But yeah, so these are the different things that Uranus wants us to ask ourselves and come to terms with, while it's in Taurus repeating these degrees. And so, what, think about like the last few months of your experience of Uranus and Taurus. What items did you find yourself starting to learn how to live without, how to be without? What things do you find yourself still clinging on to? What about like relationship ideals and titles, facets of love? What is required to forgive? Are you a forgiver? What does that look like? These different things that we've been holding on. there's no sign stronger than Taurus. Taurus is fixed earth. So it's like these are things that you've been holding on with like the utmost amount of like stubbornness. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I was about to say like three words at the same time. Hold on. Oh, gosh. I have no idea what's going on with my phone. My apologies, y'all. Okay, so I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, and I'm still trying to warm my energy back up because I came out of the flow with doing lives. But that's the triangle of that's what we're creating with is those three placements. Over time, we will have. Mm, it looks like we'll have like a kite coming back up. We have another triangle on the way. We could very well have like a star, another star in another week or so, as well. But that's what we have right now. We have the triangle, and we do have below the horizon and the darkness. And what I like about below the horizon and the darkness is these things are like they're felt, but they're not seen. Okay? So when you guys have those feelings and you're like, I feel something coming, I feel this, I feel that, this is most likely like the energy beneath the horizon. So beneath the horizon, we got the Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio energy from the AC to the DC line. And then we have above the Sag, the winter, the Sag Cap, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. Why is it like that? Because wherever the sun is at, Earth is in opposition. All right. So while the sun is shedding light on the bottom, underneath the horizon, Earth is at the top in Pisces near Neptune and Saturn, and so more likely, and the North Node as well. So more likely than not, you're going to feel and see those energies more prominent in our skies. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the sun is always in opposition. If the sun was ever on the same side of us, we're in trouble. It's gonna get hot. Um, but yeah, so in opposition to that energy, like I said, let's do the let's do the sun. The sun over here in Leo constellation, Virgo zodiac. So usually I get into like the double side of the things of like our mindset and the events that are happening around us. So our mindset is working on, oh, it's 12, we made it. Yay. Our mindset is on having a sense of schedule and routine, um, habits. We're getting into decision making, certain decisions that have to be made here, certain realms of self management. Also, the desire to be of service around this time. You got all the back to school, backpack giveaways, people volunteering their time and spaces, you know, um, starting up them second, third, fourth jobs because y'all like Christmas shopping in September for some reason. I'm not into the holidays anymore. I only do birthdays, and stuff like that. And so, a lot of this is coming into service and putting that, in your routine. And also checking your moral code and different things that you have in your habits. Some things that you was doing over the summer, you might not be beat for doing that in the moment. A lot of people have children. A lot of people are around children. A lot of people are affected by the school schedule, right? Um, Even if it's around the time that you drive to and from work, still in that space of being affected. So a lot of that is shifting people's schedules. Also, this Mercurian energy also deals with intellect. So it makes sense that school starts around this time as well. So all of that is in our experiences. I mean, in our thoughts, right? In our mindset. The tropical chart deals with how we are raised to be, how our thoughts, are being groomed to us. And that makes sense, right? Because, we had our own astrology charts and stories and mythologies and, ways of doing things until, you know, our mindset was changed into something else. And now everybody collectively thinks about the tropical chart. And in that space, with the tropical chart is your mind is a superpower, and if you have enough minds, which at this point we got billions of minds that are in alignment with the tropical chart, that's what keeps it so. You know what I'm saying? Um, at some point, maybe billions of minds will be like, hey, let's change it. Like, it's kind of weird that the Ayana Masa between the tropical and the Vedic chart, which is the difference between the two, is like 24 degrees. That's almost a whole, zodiac sign or, space or whatever. And, that's a really big difference. But it also, at this point, it does seem like there is a big shift happening between our mind and how we think things are and the events that are happening around us, at least for a lot of us. And then for another lot of us, there is, um, it's coming more into one. We did have this period of time, I want to say about like 2 or 3 years ago, where the tropical and the Vedic chart were actually like really close. It was kind of cool. And as I like do readings for people and I'll talk to people, it seems like a lot of people's spiritual awakenings was around that time, like either in 2012 or like 2018 ish. And around that time was when the tropical and the Vedic chart placements, like they weren't transiting, so far apart, and that was pretty cool. And so, but now they are. No, they are. As far as like them being in the same zodiac, like it's still like X amount of degrees apart, but they were still like in alignment with like the draconic chart. That's what I meant. Not so much with each other, but with the draconic chart, which is our spiritual self, which was pretty cool. But now it's starting to be like the tropical chart is more aligned with the draconic chart now than the Vedic. So that creates like a shift to where like our mind is there, it's happening in the events, but the events are, a whole lot slower behind. So it might seem like certain periods of time, manifesting things comes a lot faster than other times, and that's because of that back and forth there. Um, what else? We know that la la la. Oh, opportunity is over there close by Mercury and the Leo constellation as well. So while the sun, which is in Leo constellation, we talked about the Virgo space, we know where our mind is at, right? So the events, the experiences that are be given to us is all about our confidence and our courageousness. Leave that here, cause you didn't wash it last time. I'll wash it. Um, yeah, so being confident and courageous, being in our creative self, being in our inner child, pulling the sun card. And when we think about our inner child, or we think about children, period, they're very resilient. They're very forgiving. They're very compassionate, right? They're very empathetic, right? They're very aware of other people's emotions, even down to a baby. If you're angry around a baby will start crying. You know what I'm saying? The baby can feel that. They get, they start to repel your energy, stuff like that. They're very inquisitive, curious. They have this eye, like wonderless eye about their surroundings. You know what I'm saying? And it's not so much that you can do to kind of talk them out of it. They have to touch things themselves and put it in their mouth and do all these different things. And even in the midst of learning, they might try it again to see if it'll happen again. And that's the energy that we're trying to come back to. Like, I remember like being in school and learning about the different philosophers and the scientists and things, and I was wondering like, wow, that's so cool. Like, do we still do things like that? Is that still like an honorable like space? Like how we, be learning about these people from centuries ago today in such an honorable way. And then we have people that have come up with new mathematics theories, scientific theories, psychological theories. Are they given like the same kind of like throne or accolades or awards, if you will, you know what I'm saying, for their discoveries on the same level as we would give like Aristotle, whatever, Socrates, these people. And it's like I said, coming back to the education system, it brings us into a space where a lot of us kind of get duped out of doing that, you pursuing that kind of energy, because it's like you can't consume, you can't buy stuff, you can't afford stuff, you can't do these different things if you are if you pursue these different things, you know what I'm saying? So but then come to find out, it doesn't matter what position you choose. No one can. Can't afford it. I'm just playing, not really. Anyway, so that's in our experiences, right? While our mindset is on the service, ruling ourselves and stuff like that, our experiences are, pulling at our heartstrings to come into that inner child energy, that curious, wonderless, adventurous self, right? And hopefully we learn to prioritize this energy and put it in our routine, and also put it in our spaces of service. Like when you were a kid and you were thinking about all the things that was going on with the world and going on here and going on there, like you all, like kids like to help, you know what I'm saying? What was that mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna help this person, I'm gonna help that, or they should fix this or they should fix that, especially like when you were in school and the first time you learned about politics or learned about certain ailments of the world. You had this like mindset like that doesn't make sense. It makes more sense if you just made it real simple like this. You know what I'm saying? Just give people houses. Like just give people these things. Like they're there. Why not just give it if it's already there? Um so yeah, that's the experiences. Mercury is also there with the decision making on, your mindset being in Virgo, as far as, how are we going to organize ourselves? What is our routine about to look like? How are we doing this? How are we doing that? Mercury is also in that air energy of Gemini. Don't forget, rolls over not just earth, but also air. So, you manifest the thoughts, right? Learning how to be witty, flexible, and focused. That'll help you with the manifesting. And like I said, opportunity is right there too. So things are coming to you. People gonna offer you stuff. People gonna put you in the crossroads. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? Do I do this or do I do that? Which one do I feel more confident in? Which one helps my inner children feel better, about these things? Leo rules over the heart chakra. Depends on where you're looking at. But if you look in the Sephiroth and the Netherus, that's Leo in the Tippereth. Heru is Leo. You know what I'm saying? We get into the six. So, and the six is that space of equality. And what else is the six associated with? Virgo. So it all like flows into each other in some type of way, shape, or form, right? But that's what we have there. So that's the explanation of that in case y'all were looking for it. And it's in the space of belongings. It's in that house of belongings. So that's what's in opposition of Saturn over there being the top dog on everything. Um, we do still have Mars in Virgo, so it's heavy motivation here, ambition. Some of you guys are coming into the realization of your solar plexus chakra and how attached it is to the things that you know. You know, how how your moral and integral code goes. What you think, your education, which a lot of that is just not just a lot of the education is indeed indoctrination and assimilation tactics. So Mars is there. A lot of you guys are just like solar plexus chakra attached, which can bring like very violent energy to detach. Coming back into that Pluto over there in the Capricorn Aquarius space. And you know, good luck. Good luck. Well, you gotta learn how to let go. You just gotta learn how to let go. A lot of things that don't serve you, if you holding on to it and you still putting it in your daily routine and putting it in your intellect, or if you find yourself arguing and debating with people trying to like, make your intellect like overpower theirs, like that doesn't do well either. The best thing to do is just speak your truth, and whoever gravitates to it gravitates to it. Right. Um. And as far as Mars being supported in the earthly realm of Virgo, like I said, we have Pluto in the Capricorn constellation. Today, as far as the six goes, we do have the moon and Capricorn constellation as well. So Pluto bringing the transformations. The moon and Pluto were in conjunction a couple days ago. That brings a lot of transformations to our comfort zone, our experience, how we internalize things, our introspection, our nurturing self, how we nurture others, and how we need to nurture ourselves. It also comes out in a messy way because Pluto is messy. Pluto doesn't just unravel secrets and unravel things. It does it in a very dramatic, messy way, like Jason Lee. I think, like when I thought about like Pluto, I don't know what day. I honestly haven't really gotten into it. I ain't gonna hold you. I haven't really gotten into it. It's just stuff that keeps showing up on my feed or whatever. But I seen a thing with Glorilla and Mariah, and I guess more recorded conversations were released or whatever. That's what I think of when I think of Moon and Pluto together, just being messy and unraveling secrets. And yeah, it it sucks, but it is also to empower you in your space of what you require to be nurtured and how you nurture others and who you nurture. You know what I'm saying? What does that look like too? Um, but that usually happens when Pluto and the moon come together. So pay attention to the transformations when this happens because it does happen at least once every 28 days. If you guys want to focus on that, like, how is this providing transformation? Like, how do I be feeling when the moon and Pluto be in alignment? Like, maybe that's an alignment that you might want to pay more attention to. But the moon is moving forward as it gets ready for this eclipse on Sunday. But today is going to be flowing through the Aquarius constellation, and then by Sunday, we should be in Pisces constellation, living our best life. In the beginning of it, at least. Well, we'll still be at the end of Aquarius because the sun is still in Leo constellation. So we'll be like towards mid area. Um, I'll have that nakshatra for you on Sunday if y'all come to my event. I ain't gonna give that to y'all now. If y'all interested in coming into the solar eclipse event, let me know. Not solar, lunar eclipse event. Let me know. Also, in Earth, like I said, we have Uranus and Taurus. So that's the other supporter in the earthly realm is the progressive pushes happening and what we're balancing. And remember, this is all like supporting that Mars and Virgo, that motivation in that space. So progressive pushes and transformations is happening with that motivation and how you carry out your daily routine. So a lot of things you guys were enforcing in your space, you may not want to keep enforcing. It just might not work for you anymore. When we get into the sun being in the Leo constellation, that is supported by, we do have Eros and Aries and Aries. They've been in there for a minute. I believe Chiron is also in Aries for now, but it is going in retrograde. Chiron deals with our wounds and how we transmute them into a power. And so Eros is like that, what do you do? What do you need? How are you? And the mission of obtaining like another half, if you will. Where's my notes for confirmation? I made myself a little asteroid notebook. The amount of notebooks that I have full of stuff, I should have a book by now. I might as well just like, I just don't feel like typing all this stuff up. But I might as well. Like, this is my little quick book or whatever. And amongst my other books, I know y'all seen my big binder before. And then I have my little asteroid book. Okay, so Eros deals with your sexual self. um Passion, desire, creativity, passion and physical desire. Oh, and the recklessness in your pursuit of the desire, right? But it seems more like obsessive. The way I wrote it, I wrote passion like mad times. Um, is your obsessive self in that Aries energy. So y'all be careful. Y'all be careful over there. Some of y'all be attracting people that be. You know what's crazy? So I was just listening to somebody. I love my Virgo readers, and there's a Virgo reader on YouTube I watch, and he literally said that like somebody's gonna tell you I love you just a little too soon, or you're gonna tell somebody you love them just a little too soon. Now that I'm sitting there, like that was the voice that came in my head a little too soon. Like, okay, that's definitely Eros and Aries over there, supporting the sun in your experience, and Mars giving you them decision makings and the opportunities over there. So it's gonna be some opportunities. You're gonna have some options, and then we have the fortune in Sagittarius supporting those experiences and things. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate you. Um, so that's fun there in the fire room, and then I did fire. I did earth, waters. We do have Venus and gold sitting in Cancer energy. So, Venus rules over the heart chakra. This is what we value and prioritize, what we find beauty in. This is, that moral energy, as far as like, okay, I value this. I really want these things. I desire these things. I deserve these things. Now, how am I going to obtain it? How am I going to maintain it? So not just with things, but also with people. That's when we get into the emotional realm, the togetherness. Um, excuse me, and that's in Cancer. So we're nurturing our heart chakra, right? We're nurturing it. We're finding safe spaces for it to be at. We're finding spaces where our heart chakra can thrive. Venus also deals with business to a certain extent, right? So some of you guys may be going into the business of creating safe spaces. Some of you maybe start to find a safe space for your business. Mm-hmm. And nurturing your business like self. Some of you guys are finally coming into the realization of what it is that you value and what it is that you want to be more so important in your space. As far as like, I know I've been making money this way and working this kind of job and doing this, but like I just feel so much better when I'm doing that over there. And so, having these kind of conversations again bring transformations in your space. Um, and then, like I said, gold is over there. Gold brings the abundance. Gold is pretty self-explanatory. It's royal. It's royal. It's prosperous. It's abundant. You know, it and it's also like the root of those things, right? Because whenever the money is funny, where do we go? We go to the root of it, the gold, right? So keeping that in mind too. Um, the finances is there to support you and what you got going on. And then it's cool because gold is over there by like like in the first nakshatra, or mansion of Cancer. So it's not too far off from where Jupiter is. It's actually closer to Jupiter in Gemini constellation. I'll get into the air later, but it's actually more closer to the Jupiter energy than it is the Venus energy. So, but by it being between Jupiter and Venus, Jupiter deals with long-term planning in the realms of business expansion and optimism, and Venus is more like short-termy because Venus makes its transits every 30 days. So it's more short termy in those spaces. Having gold in that realm like that is like, look at the bigger picture, but you could still like pay attention to the smaller one at the same time. And I want to say, when well, I do know when Venus first entered Cancer, that's when it did touch gold. Um, and it might have been easy for y'all to make business decisions. It may have felt like something lifted and you guys started making money, you know, things, you started getting those nuggets to show you like, yeah, you're going the right path, you're doing the right thing, keep going, right? Over being supported by the water, we went over Pisces very thoroughly. However, yeah, we went through Pisces pretty thoroughly. We do have Ceres over there nurturing our dreams, Saturn building on them, you know, all of that. And then we have in Scorpio, we have Vesta. We have our passionate self, and Scorpio energy. That's very sexy. It's definitely a time for definitely a time for procreation. Y'all trying this baby's made in the month of 9 with all this energy going on right now. Okay. We like it here. What does that make? Does that make what does that make if we do it now? Uh that's like cancer babies being born, right? Cancer Leo babies, something like that. Cause that's the month of 6, coming into the 6th and 7th. Okay, I see you over there. Do you think? But yeah, it's a lot of passionate energy happening here, and transformation is happening, empowering transformation is happening, and what you're passionate about, as Saturn and Neptune and Ceres are nurturing your dreams and your beliefs, and helping you build upon them and structure them. And then Venus is over here in Cancer with the gold, so that's a nice setup if you guys want to do some water things, especially during the eclipse, and y'all just want to focus on the water placements. That's a good vibe. And if you just want to focus on the earth placements, also a good vibe between. Well, the earth placements is heavy on the solar plexus chakra. You want to focus on your solar plexus chakra there. On the water placements, you more so might want to focus on your heart chakra and your heart and your root, definitely. You can even bring your sacral into the mix, but you definitely want to find some sense of grounding in that water vibe. For my spellcasters in the back, I know y'all like to do y'all sigils and things accordingly. You know, you want to do your sigils in alignment with the astrological chart. That's a good one. I like that. Um, so we did water, we did earth, we did fire, and now we do air. Yeah. I introduced Jupiter being over there in Gemini, providing that expansion, that abundance, that optimism to our swords, our thoughts, our intellect. Lots of opportunities happening there, right? Lots of options happening there. Be careful with that because you can say if you're a yes man, and that's what Jupiter can do. Jupiter can put you in a yes man situation where you're saying yes and you're agreeing to everything and you find yourself overwhelmed and overgiving and doing just a little too much. So, be mindful of that too. It matters. You don't want to flow into that. Gemini also deals with like relatives, like the cousins and the siblings. Communication is heavy here. Also, like I said, the intellect. So, having that abundance, that philanthropy, wanting to connect with your family members so that, you have that give and take kind of energy flowing. And like I said, gold is close by. Long term planning happening here too. You know, with your community, what you want to do within your community, for your community, you know, alongside your community, all those things. And it's, pretty fire. I see all of us coming into a space of finding different communities to be a part of. Supporting that air energy, we do have we have the North Node in Aquarius. So being, in that Asar energy, being revolutionary, unique and united are the keys there. Um, and that's where our spiritual direction is going into the power to be one with all, right? So that you have that being supported. Again, coming to the space of it's a great time to build a community. It's a great time to connect with others. It doesn't have to be the people that live around you. You might want to pick up and move to somewhere else. You never know. Community is whatever you make it to be, wherever you want it to be. You know what I'm saying? But it is coming together. And then another air energy is, of course, the Libra vibes. And what we have in Libra, we got the money, and we got the vortex, and we also have Lilith, and we have Juno there. So our primordial self is over in Libra, wanting that balance, that fairness, the interpersonal relationships, the justice, us to walk in our truth. In order for that Jupiter to work and build on the community, in order for our North Node, our spiritual, tribe to pull us to, that revolutionary energy, we need to walk in our truth. We need to be honest with ourselves. Juno also pulls us to a sense of honesty too. What do you need in a bond to be loyal to it? The way Hera was to Zeus. You know, Zeus did many things. Hera didn't go nowhere. She more so punished the people he did those things with than them. Than him. He always got away with the things. You just got an attitude every now and then. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be honest and be in your authenticity so you can find those bonds that you really feel yourself like connected to and comfortable with on a real level. Because you don't want to flow into like this lack of authenticity. You always feel like you have to have that telephone voice on, or you have to over heavy yourself because you messed around and trauma bonded with somebody. Now you got to feel like you got to behave traumatized all the time to relate or communicate. Like, it gets tiring to wear a mask. So the air calls on you to be in your authenticity for that level of success that you're looking for, and the connectivity, okay, with the tribe, the community, your clan, your squad, all that. So I went through all the elements and the placements in those elements, and that was fun. And so getting into the calendars and things of the things, I have we will start tomorrow off, or today. We started today at midnight at a 97% waxing gibbous moon. We're in that moon of building on tangible things in our space. Rising at 6:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and setting at 5 a.m. Excuse me. Start the day off at 23 degrees Aquarius in a zodiac. So mindset is on that expansion, revolutionary energy. Um, Over there, real close to the North Node. And then, approaching the North Node because that's the zodiac. Excuse me. We start the day off at 28 degrees Capricorn constellation. So our experiences and our energy exchanges is, focused on our root chakra and how we're building on things and what our structure and our discipline is, and, you know, where our challenges are and how they're challenging us in the building of our home and family, our maternal energy, our third eye, our introspection. This is We start the day off in the Danishta Nakshatra, right? And that's the 23rd lunar 23rd lunar mansion. It goes from 23 degrees to 6 degrees Aquarius. And the moon moves about 13 to 14 degrees a day. So keep that in mind. At one point, it got real easy for me to do the mathematics in those 3 minutes because the moon was literally just going from nakshatra to nakshatra each day. But one of the it's a few nakshatras that the moon kind of like fly through, like Libra energy. All the planets just fly through Libra and Aries. They like, yeah, whatever. We're not gonna stay here long. So after that, it got to a point where now the moon goes through two lunar mansions in a day. So the day can feel like a really big energy shift, y'all. I ain't gonna hold you, especially in your emotions, in your home, and like how you chose to nurture yourself in the beginning of the day versus how you're now nurturing yourself by the time we get to the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It could definitely be especially like uh turbulent for cancers or people who have predominant cancer energy or have their moon very close to their sun or any other like major planets or lots of planets. I know a lot of you guys are stellums, so if you have a lot of stellums around the moon, that could be a lot, having the transit moon going through, two different lunar mansions in a day. That's a big energy shift. Pay attention to how your home and your safe space and your comfort zones change by the beginning of the day with your intentions that you set versus the end of the day. Reflection is important. I would say journal at the beginning of your day with your intentions and then journal at the end of your day in reflection and see what happens and see the changes and the contrast and compare it. And you can also align it with the moon if you want to, but I would align the moon with the in hindsight. Sometimes I do my mathematics kind of late because me personally, I don't want to get caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? To where like I'm always like intentionally focused on intentionally. Sometimes I just want to flow. You know what I'm saying? I like a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? I like those moments where I'm like, hey, that's how that happened. That's so crazy. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, by the end of the day, we end up in the Sarabisha Nakshatra. So we go from the Danishta Nakshatra, which is ruled by Mars and is focusing on our energy and taking action and success. But by the time the end of the day comes, we will be in this Nakshatra ruled by Rahu, which is the North Node energy, about emotional isolation. So, we go from this energetic realm and we're getting it done, we're doing it, and I feel like this. And then by the end of the day, we kind of want to be to ourselves and we feel misunderstood. So, certain things that we can infer, because I don't want to get too caught up in the assumptions of things, is maybe exerting how you feel or expressing those different things, taking action, enforcing it, and not having the reaction you were looking for or you felt like that energy deserved or what you desire, right? And by the end of it, starting to feel like, oh, well, I'll just be by myself. I'm always misunderstood. Nobody really hears me, different things like that. Um, and that's just an example. It might not go exactly that way for you. You know what I'm saying? Um, so as far as this is the energy of spiritual evolution and understanding. Getting into mysticism, spiritual energy, and occult sciences is key here too. So, like again, you guys can rewind to about 20 minutes ago or so, and it's happened to those different elements and how to utilize those different elements based on what's placed there. With the moon being inside of Bisha throughout the day, it's an excellent time to engage in healing practices, either for yourself or others. Again, you can engage into those placements, the triangle, whatever you want to do. This period is well suited for spiritual growth, meditation, and working with alternative healing modalities, deep introspection, engage in research, study mysticism, and explore occult sciences if they resonate with you. Whichever ones that resonate with you in your world, find new solutions, new innovative solutions to your problems, stuff like that. Um, the the moon and Deneb El Geldi will be in conjunction. Um, that's happening at 1:36 a.m. Hold on, guys. I'm about to be done. I'm gonna read you out. I've almost reached my hour. I said I wasn't gonna go over an hour. Okay, I just had to confirm. The Nebo Josie is in the tail of the goat. It's Saturn and Jupiter energy. So you have that blend of Bina and Chokma, that expansion, abundance, joy, optimism, and giving, as well as the restrictions and the boundaries and the discipline. Find that balance symbol for those with that. But being dignified, pious, and conservative is here. This is also a space of happiness. So, um, find your happiness there in the tail of the goat. With the moon being conjunct there, you can applicate that energy to your nurturing self and your safe spaces. Occultation does occur, so it's somewhat of an eclipse. We don't use the word eclipse when the moon aligns with other celestial beings. We use the word occult. It means the same thing though. The evening visibility of Ceres begins. Ceres is at the top of the sphere over there, like near between like Chiron, a little bit closer to Chiron than it is Neptune and Saturn. Um, but we'll be able to see that constellation in the evening again and again. Ceres brings nurturing energy, agriculture, the relationship between mother and daughter, what one is willing to destroy to get what they love, what I'm saying. That's all Ceres energy, and it's sitting in that Pisces space of beliefs and generational energy, Akashic records. These are things you've been willing to destroy for lifetimes to get the things that you need. And so it's pretty quiet in the celestial realm. I'm not gonna hold you because we got some big things happening on Sunday. So the Sabbath is really allowing us to rest and we give thanks, okay? Um and remembering that we are in the energy of Thoth. We are coming into our last days of the Nile, which does give off that Virgo energy of being practical, being of service, and all that fun stuff. So now let's get into the celestial hours, and then I'm gonna read y'all out. We kind of did the celestial hours. Well, I didn't read the hours off to you, but as far as like me doing the elements, it's putting it in my head. I'd be going too long without doing these things. I'd be like, what, I gotta get my energy back into the flow of it. Where is my paper? Okay. But yeah, I should have did this when I was going over the elements, right? We start the day off with Saturn. Saturn's hours are from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m., 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., and then 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturn is in Pisces up there with Neptune at the top of the triangle. These are great hours to get into building on what it is that you want to have in your space, in your dreams. This is a great time to work on the discipline that's required to make your dreams occur. Okay. Um, Jupiter's hours are from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., and then 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Jupiter is all about expansion and abundance and long-term planning, business goals. And we know Jupiter is over there in Gemini constellation. Um, it's enter Cancer zodiac, so the mindset is on building on those nurturing spaces, expansion there, expansion in the emotional self, all that fun stuff, and that's happening in our thought process. The events of it is the community is responding. So for those of you guys who want to create those spaces, The people are coming. This is a great time for that quote, building they will come. This is a great time for that one. That's literally what Jupiter is doing between Cancer and Gemini energy. All right. Then we have Mars. Mars hours are from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., and then 11 p.m. to midnight. Jupiter. Mars, yeah, I said Mars, right? Mars rules over the solar plexus chakra. We talked about Mars being over there in Virgo, providing the motivation to, put whatever you need to put in your routine, in your schedule, with your habits, you know, being motivated to expand your intellect, make certain decisions, having the action to make certain decisions, not just sitting around, but actually moving forward in them, right? That's what we want to do here. We want to pull the wands card on our throat chakras. We want to pull the wand card on our HOD as far as compartmentalizing things and then moving accordingly to the compartmentalization. So don't get too caught up in the boxes that you forget that they all supposed to come together too. Um, the sun's hours are from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., and then midnight, of course, um, because we start the sun on Sunday. um, but the Mars hours are a I fucked up. Where did I fuck up at? I said Mars already, right? I said Saturn is from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m., 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Then I said Jupiter is 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Then I said Mars is 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., 9 a.m. I mean, yeah, yeah. Mars is not 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., and 11 p.m. to midnight. Then we get into the sun. The sun is about vitality, your energy, how you experience and exert yourself, all that fun stuff, right? We know the sun is over there between Virgo and Leo. We're exerting and expecting Virgo thoughts about intellect and routine and scheduling and having some sense of order and being of some type of service, right? Being practical, grounded, manifesting, harvesting. We're getting close to the harvest moon. People love Halloween shit. We're out here pumpkin picking and apple picking. It's a great time here. We're ready for the equinox. We're pulling the sweaters out of the boxes. This is all in our experiences, right? Um, and then, well, this is all in our thought process and our actual experiences. We're still in Leo energy. We're still going to get a few hot days, but it's all about our confidence and courageousness and walking through spaces with the curiosity and the wanderlust of a child, right? Being in that space. Venus hours are from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m., 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Venus rules over the heart chakra. We know Venus is sitting over there in Cancer. Our heart chakra is sitting in it. Our heart chakra needs to be nurtured. You know, finding that balance between the 6 and the 9. The 6 being the Tippereth and the 9 being the celestial womb. Creating for self and creating for others. Finding that balance. 6 deals with equality, 9 deals with birth. And that's what we want, right? We want quality in our birth. We don't want one-sided births. That's why it takes two people of opposite energies that also blend together in different ways to create a person. Because that's 6 and 9. That's the 6 and 9. That's the celestial womb. That's how you know, and yeah, it's all about the energies. And then Mercury's hours are from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., and then 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mercury is all about our decision making, our habits and our routines, our integral code, our intellectual self. And Mercury is sitting over there near the sun and opportunity. Like, you got options because Jupiter is over there in one of Mercury's energies providing expansion, so to bring the community to give you the options. So you got options. They're going to bring you opportunities. They're coming in your experience. You need to be grounded because on the other side of the game, you got Saturn saying, hey, you can't do all them things. We need a little bit of restriction. We need some boundaries. And we need some discipline. Stop being a yes man. We even finding structure in that Pisces energy, which I know can be real hard because Pisces just wants to be isolated, secluded in deep waters, just swimming and flowing and nothing else going on, and that's super cool, but that's not what's happening here. Then we have, last but certainly not least, we have the moon's hours from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the moon deals with, our nurturing self, our home and family. And we talked about the lunar mansions that the moon is in. We talked about the moon being over there between Capricorn and Aquarius, and it's flowing into that structure and bringing you into a revolutionary energy. Aquarius energy can be detached and aloof, which brings it into that Sadabisha Nakshatra of feeling isolated and misunderstood. So being mindful of that. And those are the celestial hours. I did take a picture of the Chinese hours, but I didn't add to my booklet with it because I don't know why. I don't have a reason. I don't want to let it. I have a lot of stuff on my to-do list, and sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I just do none of it. But one thing at a time, it's gonna get done. Over the weekend, I'm definitely gonna sit down and focus because I got space to do that. But that's what I got for you. So let me give you a reading, and I'll see you out. So the theme for today is cordyceps. It's revival. We're dealing with the 2 and 6, which is wisdom and our equality. I just got done going through the equality energy, and that'll bring us transformations, right? If we have wisdom, we have knowledge, and we exercise knowledge. Now we come to the conclusion, and we're applying that to our space of balance. 6 deals with that Virgo energy of health, wellness, daily routine. You know what I'm saying? We have wisdom of that, and we're going to allow it to create power and transformation in our space. And then the planets to focus on is that Jupiter in Gemini, that Pluto over there in Aquarius Capricorn, and that's Mars that's sitting down there in Virgo. So it's giving Earth energy aside from Jupiter over there in Gemini, but the other two planets are in Earth energy, while that one is in air. And when we put those together with the community and motivation to your routine and transformations and your structure, that's pretty cool with the long-term planning of things. you know Jupiter deals with the sacral chakra, while Pluto and Mars deals with the solar plexus. Peace, goddess, how you doing? Well, yeah, while Pluto and Mars deals with the solar plexus. So finding joy in those transformations, finding joy in how you exert yourself and how you enforce your eternal law into your spaces, being empowered. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is empowerment here. You got the DNA strands coming up from the roots and coming on up, and you're just flying out of it and just living your best life. Now, to expand on that, I did get a reverse King of Pentacles, and in my space, it just feels like this is giving like Uranus and Taurus. Like, there's a sense of like progressive push is kind of pushing us away from, not everything is about this consumption and this capitalistic stuff. A lot of people up here don't even know they're being agents, and they're being agents. A lot of people up here don't know they're being slave drivers, and they're being slave drivers. They just are infatuated with the materialistic things, that put people in this overconsumption mindset, this over capitalistic mindset of, I have to buy, 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 buy. I have to consume, consume, consume. And if I don't consume and if I don't buy, was I really productive? Do I really have value? Am I really important? Could I really be loved? Do I really deserve love or a family? They have people really telling people they don't deserve to be in a relationship, or they don't deserve to have children. Things that we're naturally put on this earth to do because they don't have stuff. You understand? And I get like the sense of responsibility, but in the same breath, like, there's boundaries to that too. So just like you have boundaries to your emotions and restrictions and limitations, so some of you guys have like a very underactive sacral chakra because of it. You guys also should put that on your obsession with the things, okay? And that's what this is feeling like. It's like the revival is you're revitalizing yourself away from that with the knowledge. You are arming yourself with the knowledge. You know better, you know better now. So we're going to do better now, right? And then what parts of stuff are we going to focus on? We're going to focus on our Mercury, and I talked about that Mercury over there in Leo next to the opportunity. And this particular one, it's the Eight of Wands. So transformations in our actions happening, empowering transformations in our actions happening. We're dealing with Hod here. Hod is splendor. That's Mercury, right? That's our celestial technician, our ability to analyze and compartmentalize. So again, like I said, coming into those conversations you need to have with yourself, and the answers you come up with help you compartmentalize the things. Mercury and Sagittarius here. So finding more joy in our decision making. We're going to transform what we do to get it. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be all about that overworking in the physical for the stuff, because we know better now. So we're going to come into the space of joy, you know? Be mindful of trickery on that heart chakra, on that Venus thing, how you obtain and maintain those things. What's valuable, what's more important, what you value versus what someone else values. Don't let these people play in your face. Like I said, a lot of people don't know they agents. They just doing slave driver shit, saying slave driver shit, and then they're looking at you like, look at you. I was able to easily manipulate you into doing what I want you to do and spending your time how I want you to spend it, and you still feeding the monster, you know? So be mindful of that. The goal is to rise above it all, though. We're rising above it all. We're expanding ourselves, and we're going to new bounds. The things that I like about Jupiter is Jupiter don't color in the lines. Jupiter is not here to be in the lines. Jupiter rules over Chokmah and Chesed. I go out of bounds, and then I also create a bound. I also create boundaries with that going out of bounds, right? But they're my boundaries. They're not yours. They're not the person next to me. They're definitely not the person who raised me, and they definitely don't belong to the people that come there after me. They're mine. And so have that mindset when you create your out of bounds and your boundaries. They're yours. They don't have to look like what you grew up in. They don't have to look like the church. They don't have to look like the economic system. They don't have to look like your job. They don't have to look like your parents or your ancestors. They can literally look like yours. Started following people that were in alignment with my mindset of, I respect everything that our ancestors went through and everything we've been through historically, but in the same breath, I'm here to create new tribes, new beings, new culture, new way of living. Because if the things we did was so great back then, it would still be here to the extent that it was, and if we stop glamorizing everything and we get down to the real nitty gritty, it wasn't that great. And our moral and integral code was good, but it had room for improvement. You know what I'm saying? We might have been, so much in our chokma, we forgot about our Jabora, our celestial enforcer and protector for a certain level. You know what I'm saying? We forgot about our moral integral code with other beings around us, signing papers to sell each other out, hoping to get a deal here or do this over there. You know what I'm saying? So being mindful of that is definitely key. Um, that's what I got for you today. That's what I got for you today. Um, I'm gonna come back more into the flow of this today. I feel kind of dry. I don't know if I was dry for y'all, but I feel kind of dry for me. Well, peace, y'all. I really appreciate y'all tapping in. Y'all have a good evening. Oh, and reach out if